All right, the recording has started. This is the July 30th, 2019 Rook community meeting. And we will go ahead and start the meeting here first off with a look at current milestones and patch, starting with the 1.0 patch. I had in the agenda to talk about this high CPU usage issue, which seems to have a lot of activity in the past couple of days and potentially some traction or a solution as well. So I guess we can go ahead and talk about that now. Did it look like there was a potential fix around, setting limits on the resources and, especially around memory used by OSDs? Was that actionable, though, to do a patch release, or is it expected to be like a user workaround where they can update their manifests before they deploy, or does anybody have a good take on that?
Yeah, my perspective on that is that if you set memory limits on your OSDs, and if you run a Nautilus build, that it will work in your environment. I think so. If there's a few people still validating that it works for them, yeah, but it does look like if you're in low memory conditions, it just gets into that state where load goes through the roof, CPU and all that. So I don't think we need a patch release for this, assuming that that is the workaround, basically.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like specific code, new binaries or new images need to be shipped to fix this. It sounds like it's that, at least from that solution, it sounds like it's entirely a configuration focused.
Yeah, exactly. I think we're okay from that one, and I'll look at removing from the 1.0 milestone, or I guess we could just remove it right now. If we agree it doesn't look like a 1.0 backport.
Yeah, now that we understand, I think that it was definitely good to have it in the 1.0 milestone because it was unclear I think until yesterday, it was unclear what the root cause even was.
Yep.
So I think that makes sense now for me as well.
Mm-hmm.
And do we need like any documentation update, or do we need to in the 1.1 in master such that it'll be included in the 1.1 release, like update their default manifests?
Yeah, I think we at least need to update the default manifests so that we set some memory limit, even if it's small, for like, hey, here's your test cluster or small cluster configuration, and then production cluster hopefully has a bigger memory limit.
Right. Well, this was one of the most active issues in 24 hours, a 24-hour period that I may have ever seen before. It was really interesting to see a lot of the effort on this.
Yeah, somebody commented debugging by GitHub. Yeah. Yep.
Very cool. All right, glad to talk about that. And then there's only one other issue that's on the 1.0 patch board. Is there an update on this 13298 for RBD volume mapped on multiple nodes?
I don't have an update on that, unfortunately. It's something where, yeah, if the fencing isn't working, that's still a problem, but that fell through the cracks for me. Anybody else look at it by chance? I don't imagine so.
Yeah, I don't see a lot of activity on this particular issue, and it reminds me of, the general, like the issue you had for a long time about, fencing, cross-node movement of a volume when you lose contact with the previous node and you are not necessarily in a position where you're confident that the old client is no longer using the volume, which I think is 1507 if I remember that number correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Which has been open for quite a long time. Yeah, that's an old one. Okay, so we don't think that this is anything new necessarily.
Yeah, I don't see how it would be new. Nothing's changed around the flex.
Okay. What's the latest on the CSI driver in terms of like that being the default flow for Ceph volumes?
Yeah, I'm actually working on right now enabling it by default. I don't have a
Oh,
PR opened yet, but both Flex driver and CSI driver would be enabled by default for Ceph deployments. And then you can choose your storage class
right.
depending on if you want CSI or Flex, at least for the 1.1 release. And then we need to talk about what the path looks like to deprecate Flex. But for now, supporting both is
Yeah.
the thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds fair. Yeah, and Flex Volume, bless its heart, has done a wonderful job for the past couple of years here. So gotten a lot of miles out of that one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Travis, you had taken a stab at the 1.1, cleaning up 1.1 recently. Is that correct?
Yes, I started that effort. I should have looked at it in the last week or before this meeting, but more work is still needed there for sure. And the
Uh,
roadmap also, there's a roadmap PR which still needs updating, and we should get that done.
oh, that hadn't been merged yet?
No, I also needed some items from EdgeFS. Dimitri said he'd get back to me, and I need to ping him on that. And yep, so I'll focus on getting that. Make sure that gets in this week.
Sounds good. Thank you for following up on that, Travis.
Oh, before we move too far off 1.0, so actually that first item in the community topics is really a question about whether we should do a 1.0 patch release again. But I guess we should have had an issue in the board tracking it, but that was missed. So there is a security scan issue in the base Ceph image for that the operator uses. So our 1.0.4 release still has this issue since we were waiting for the Ceph 14.2.2 release, which is now out with that security fix. Just looking at this issue, I couldn't tell the severity or of not. So it didn't seem urgent to me, at least, to need to release again before 1.1. Jan isn't here on the call, is he? Who opened this issue? So unless there's an urgent need for that security issue, I don't think we need to try a release based on this backport.
And so, this is in the base image that the Rook image is based on.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So the operator, its base image is the Ceph image, which had the security scan issue until 14.
Do we know? Do we know if that excuse me, if that Ginger package is coming from the CentOS base image for Ceph, or whether that's coming from the Ceph packages?
I'm not sure what the source of it is, but the Ceph image does have the fix now, at least. And in master, we have it fixed. Great. Yeah, in master, we've updated it based on 14.2.2 image now. It's just not backported to 1.0.
Got it. So we are fixed in master, and that will be included in 1.1.
Right.
And this is also a reminder too that one of probably the biggest unresolved process items for us right now, in terms of working towards a potential CNCF graduation, is around our security disclosure process and security auditing as well. We do not have that in place, and that is probably the biggest remaining item that we need to tackle over the next couple of months or so. So in a short-ish term time frame, we will be addressing, putting a process in place for security disclosure and go through a security audit as well.
Yeah, and we opened a request for the security review with CNCF, right? Do you know where that got to, or was that issue open? I can't remember if you did that, Jared.
No, we have not done that yet because part of that security review is the auditing the audit itself, which is an audit of our process, which we don't have in place. So we need to, it's prerequisite, but we need the disclosure process in place before we can get the audit done.
I see. So
we will follow up with that. Yeah, that's no problem. We will take care of that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm expecting that I'll probably be driving that process.
Okay.
So don't you worry, buddy.
I'm worried.
I said don't worry.
But I am worried.
Am I not being clear here? Okay, cool. Let's move on to high CPU usage. So we just kind of talked about that one, and I think we reached resolution on that as well. So we can probably move to the next item in the list here. So is Sebastian online as well?
No, I think he said he wasn't going to be able to make it.
Okay. That's Sebastian. Got it.
Sebastian Philip from SUSE. He just brought up in our Ceph huddle in the last hour about this thing he put together for generating client code around the CRDs for Python. So the Ceph manager has a need to use a Python client to our CRs, and it seems clear that any of our storage providers would benefit from, just like we generate Go client code, we could generate Python client code and for consumption by whatever clients want to access it. So it seems like a valid thing to put this in the Rook repo for code generation. I haven't looked at it closely. Like I said, Sebastian just brought this up. So
is that supported by all of the upstream tooling as well? Like there is the the Golang client generation stuff. That's all upstream tooling. We didn't do anything specific in Rook for that. Is Python also supported already? I hadn't heard about that yet.
No. So what he put together is that the Python code would be generated based on the CRD validation. So you, instead of the types exactly that we have. So there's the validation I'm talking about in the CRD, the YAML validation. Yep. So it'd be all code generation based on that. And I'm not sure about the code generation upstream for Python though, based on the types, because it would be optimal to be based on the types, which we're already using for Go generation.
But you're saying it's based on the validation. It does like CRUD operation client generation from that? I don't know if I understand that.
Yeah, that's my understanding, but I'm not sure the details yet.
It would be nice if there is some effort here from the community around Python client generation that's similar to the effort that was done for Golang clients. That sounds like that would be really nice to have in a common place, like upstream for other. If there hasn't already been an effort upstream, that any sort of effort here would benefit the greater ecosystem. I'd be surprised if there wasn't something already for Python as well. That would kind of surprise me. But finding some commonality here sounds like it would be beneficial.
Oh yeah. So I agree. We need to look for that upstream. But what was that?
I'm not sure what what is entirely meant here by client code generation. I feel like that could mean a lot of things, but I do know that someone in the Kubernetes upstream community has created to the best of my description, it parses through all of the Go client stuff for Kubernetes, and it generates Python, and it generates a lot of stuff. I think it generates Ruby and just loads and loads of stuff, and it's all based on that Go library, which I think sounds like that might be what we're talking about here.
Right. Which would be preferable to use that from this other generation that Sebastian found, assuming that there's that overlap. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you find a link to that, Blaine, that'd be great if you want to add that to that GitHub issue.
Yeah, so in general, that sounds like it would be a potentially useful thing. Maybe that could be like potentially optional, like if, on a storage provider basis, if, they want to have Python code generated as well, then, that could be opted in or opted out, whatever it may be. But in general, any effort there being done with, in a common way for, leveraging upstream efforts on this sounds like the right approach.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's good.
Cool. Is Dimitri on the call today? I don't see him on the call here.
No.
Cool. Yeah, I was hoping if either Giovanni or Dimitri were online, which I don't see either of them here, we get an update on the Google Summer of Code project and effort here that Dimitri is mentoring and Giovanni is undertaking around the multi-homed cluster network spec. But I don't think we have either of them online, so I don't think we're going to get an update, at least from the horse's mouth.
Yeah, the timing for that, for Google Summer of Code, should be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks, right?
There's not too much left of it. Dimitri has, since he was the mentor for this summer for that project, he's been driving that on his own. I haven't been involved in that this summer.
Right.
Okay. All right, so let's looks like we got Vishal added this topic here about the Yugabyte DB. Vishal, are you online?
Yes, I am here.
Excellent. Would you like to speak to this?
Sure. So we did some initial design and raised an issue on the repo. The actual work also is in progress. We already have the create and delete working with the Yugabyte DB and the Rook as the underlying storage engine. Still working on integration test and some of the update parts. So I was just wondering, will it be reasonable to assume that we'll have time for reviewing this for 1.1, or will it be too optimistic?
My gut feel here, Vishal, is that as a beginning alpha level effort here, that would be great to get into 1.1. I'd be thrilled to see that, and I don't think it's if you're already working on integration tests for it as well, I think that's to me that's a good sign that you will be able to reach something of an alpha level quality to put out in 1.1 without significant concern. Are there any dissenting opinions on that?
Right, I agree. If it's already in progress, I mean, just to think about the timing, we're looking at sort of a feature freeze August 25th or so, I think, and then targeting September 10th as a release date, potentially. So that's, we just want to make sure we give feedback early and often as you open the PRs. And so, let's go for it.
Yeah, happy to see the progress on this, Vishal. That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm. Cool, thanks.
Definitely.
All right, we also have a design PR open for Apache Ozone.
Yeah, I added this to the agenda. Is there anyone here representing Apache Ozone? I'm not sure they are. There's been a bunch of review on this. It just needs final sign-off, I think, for merging the design. So yeah, he asked about it, if anybody else has concerns before we merge it. So under reviews, I think Blaine, it shows you as still requesting changes. And if Alex, yep. So if we can just finish that off, I think we want to go ahead with this one too for 1.1 ideally.
Yeah, Alexander, will you be able to take another look at this and see if the changes that you requested are addressed?
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you. Sounds good. Good to see some traction and some driving this towards merging. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, Travis and Rohan, design for supporting managed pod disruption budgets.
Is Rohan here? Maybe not. Okay. Yeah, I'll represent this one. So I think there's a general pattern here that can be used across storage providers. So I just wanted to bring this up as interesting for the community. So the fundamental challenge here is that during the upgrade process, you're upgrading your Kubernetes cluster. You need to take a node down, so you cordon it. The pods are evicted, and the way you can manage how that works is around the pod disruption budgets, and there's machine disruption budgets. But those core concepts don't really seem to map to what we need for storage. For example, pod disruption budgets, you need to tell it how many pods can be disrupted at a time or what percentage. But for Ceph OSDs, at least, we might have a different number of OSDs per node. And really what we want to do is control it to how many nodes are being disrupted at a time, because that's how Crush, for example, is designed. Let's make sure we've survived nodes going down, or whatever or multiple nodes in the same zone going down, and that level. So this has a design here around how we use PDBs and the operator managing those PDBs to get the behavior of specific nodes going down by using a canary pod and things. So I don't think we have time to talk through the whole design here, but there's, and I think it'd be good to see what others are doing in the storage community too, as far as how to manage upgrades with where storage, we need to make sure storage is healthy before continuing with each node upgrade. Yep.
So Travis, previously in the operator logic for OSDs, we would sequentially walk through node by node to do various operations like adding new OSDs to that node, or bringing them down, or potentially for upgrading them as well. So that was kind of at the operator level itself, and not really using any of the primitives in Kubernetes, such as the pod disruption budgets. What is your take on that older approach or more legacy approach that we had? Like, is that something that it fits better into using the Kubernetes primitives, and if so, it could be a more generalized solution?
Or sorry, which thing you're referring to? Because without PDBs, we don't really have a way to stop nodes from being evicted. Like the operator can't stop things from proceeding at the the Kubernetes and cordoning level. So
I think
forgetting.
I'm talking about kind of an older approach that was not involving any sort of cordoning or draining of nodes. So I think that may be kind of a new or a more recent addition to the flow here that the old operator based logic wasn't necessarily equipped to handle, and that could be a very good reason here why at the operator level itself that's insufficient to safely guide an upgrade operation like this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and to be clear, and maybe you're already clear on it, but so this is talking about upgrades happening outside of the storage operator itself. So inside, assuming Kubernetes itself is not being upgraded, the operator already shouldn't be managing the upgrade of the storage platform. And this upgrade procedure is talking about Kubernetes itself being updated, or
I think I did miss that actually. That is a good clarification to make. Thank you for making that clear for some of us slower folks on this call here, like myself.
Okay. So it's a different level of upgrade. We have to use these PDBs to basically work with it. And it feels kind of hacky to some degree, like with this, the way we have, it feels like workaround, and feels like we should get something into native Kubernetes, some constructs that help us with this, allowing a storage platform to really be stable while you're upgrading. But anyway, this is a solution for the short term, at least until some bigger solution is worked out.
And with these pod disruption budgets, would they need to be like a dynamic thing that like fluctuates over time, or is it like coupled to like changes in the crush map, or what's like the life cycle of these PDBs?
So the operator would manage the PDBs, so where it would create the PDBs depending on the different failure domains, and then as as needed, the operator would see, oh, it looks like we're trying to upgrade. I will remove a PDB and then put it back when that node's done. And so managing the PDBs.
I see.
And it requires some heuristic around trying to figure out when a node is being drained or cordoned. So I'm curious to see if that heuristic will actually work out.
Got it. Cockroach uses pod disruption budgets as well in its operator implementation. But there's not much of a. I wonder if this could be useful there as well. So at least there's potential that this could be a general storage. Have general applicability to the wider storage landscape.
Right. Exactly.
Cool. That looks like everything we had on the agenda document today. Were there any other topics or concerns that anybody wanted to bring up that are not on the agenda?
Maybe one thought. We've got the bucket provisioning PR that's nearing completion. Just tests are being implemented for it. I see at least John and Jeff on the call. Anything you want to say about that, or just I think we're just about done with it.
Hey, Travis. Hey, everyone. No, I mean, I think John and I are monitoring, and we're working with Jiffin whenever he has a question. It's a priority, but I think he's got the initial rounds figured out. So it's really just availability on our part, but we're not doing anything.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, that was my last big piece of feedback for that PR was just getting the tests implemented. So when those do get pushed, please mention me or ping me on that pull request, and I'll be happy to take another look.
That's great.
Yeah, that's all on that topic. I think just that
Cool.
It's almost there.
Sounds great.
Yay.
Yes. Yay indeed. Okay. Well, if that's everything that we have for this week, then we can go ahead and adjourn.
Alrighty.
Something just came in the chat. Oh, Aaron. Yay, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron.
All right. Thanks.
All right. All right, everybody. We will talk again in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Thanks, Phil.